So number 3 is get your support system in place, whether that's your family, a close friend, maybe you enlist a coach. There's support groups out there, either in person or online. It's just important that you have some people in your corner, that they understand your situation, and that you ask them to hold you accountable. You know, if you're wavering on your decision, somebody who is strong enough and bold enough to say, hey, we had this conversation, like, why are we going back down this path again?
How hard was it for you to start even, relaying to family or friends, or to start confiding in people of what it was that you were seeing, knowing there was this code switching happening? So for people that don't know about code switching is, your spouse, your partner, whoever is the person that's being abusive, and it might not be a spouse or a partner. It could be a family member or a coworker. They show up very differently in public than behind the closed door. So when we start to go to people and start to confide, there might be some confusion on their part, because you're going to describe something very, very different from what they've experienced.
Right. I'm sorry.
Just wondering, like, how hard was it for you to start to confide, and were people supportive? Did they believe it, or were they saying you're being ridiculous?
First of all, for me, it was hard to confide in people. I have a sister who I'm very close with, so I opened up to her pretty early on as to what was going on, but I really kept it just with her up until maybe 6 months to a year before everything kind of imploded. I told a close friend at that point, but there's that. What makes it difficult is if you have people who know you and they only know this relationship of yours from the outside looking in, oftentimes it looks like everything's fine and perfect. So you kind of feel like, you're an imposter. You've been hiding the fact that you're so miserable. Maybe you spend time with these people as a couple. That was my situation. I wanted to tell my close friend, but we hung out together, 2 couples, we'd go on trips together, and I'm like, fun, even though I wasn't happy, I'd still enjoy myself. So there was that fear of like actually opening up about what was happening, and maybe even feeling judged that I put up with what I put up with for so long. That was when I tell her. She was super supportive and understanding, but that's why there's such a hesitancy sometimes.
I agree, but I do find with my clients that are in this, if I'm working with a client that suspects, and she's coming to me because she suspects that she's in a toxic relationship, in a trauma bond, or maybe in a relationship with a narcissist. And when I refer to this, I mean more like a spouse or a partner or an intimate relationship. The moment they start to confide in someone who feels like family, so whether it's a member of their, origin, family or of origin, or someone that's just really close to them, it's other level. It's almost like that little tiny dip of the toe into the water, where it's all a little bit like ripping off a Band-Aid. It's like once you go there, you can't really pull back per se, but it's what gives them the extra strength to get another toe in and another toe in until the foot's already in. It's a process.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think it's just by chance that after 6 months to a year after I told my best friend what was happening that I separated. It like you said, it's a little bit of an accountability piece too, at least.
I remember I was able to identify that my best friend from college was in a very toxic marriage, and they had been together for 14 years before they got married. And this was like maybe 2 years into the marriage, and I had gone to visit her, and I was like, what is going on? And she really wasn't confiding. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to push. And I didn't. She called me back a few weeks later, and she said, listen, I knew you saw what was happening. I didn't feel like I could tell you, because I knew the moment I spoke it out loud, it was going to be over. Because there was going to be no turning back for me. This was her particular way of, and she said, but it was the catalyst because I couldn't sit on it any longer. And she said, and then I told my mom, and this is where it's at. I've already moved out. Like, she moved so fast. She didn't have kids. So she had a little bit more flexibility. But, you know, it's hard for people to make that. So let's talk about 4 and 5. And we'll combine 4 and 5 together. So number 1 was preparing yourself mentally and emotionally. Number 2 is writing down that list of reasons that you can go back to and refer to, especially when you're in those love bomb moments. Number 3 is getting that support system in place.